Hey everybody! So if you're recording real drums, one of the biggest challenges you're going to face is learning how to isolate the various elements of the kit. One of the most common questions that keeps popping up from beginners to experts alike is how the hell do you keep the hi-hat out of the snare mic? Normally, the answer lies in mic placement and the drummer's technique. If your drummer is too heavy on the hats and too light on the snare, all the best mic technique in the world isn't going to save you. Now, I've also seen some interesting phone contraptions designed to help with the bleed, but let's face it, most of them don't work too well. Interestingly enough, Acusonus has come up with a software-based solution called Drumatom, specifically designed for leakage suppression. Does it work? Let's find out. Now, this is something really different from other drum processing software. Once you've got your drums edited, you need to start with this software outside of your DAW. Load in your kick, snare, toms, and overheads, identify which track is which for the program, and let it analyze. And this is pretty cool as it works the various tracks against each other and figures out what goes where. Now, at this point, you've got two options. Process the tracks here and export them to the DAW, or create what's called a DLS file to be played back in real time with the new Drumatom player. Each version has its own advantages, the standalone being far less complicated setup and fairly straightforward. The downside being that you have to get your settings right before you export them and re-import them back into your DAW. The Drumatom player, on the other hand, allows you to adjust on the fly in your mix. You set this up as a VSTI, so you have to know how to route your signal. Now, this took me a little while to figure it out, but eventually I did get it working. Once you're up and running, the controls are dead simple. You have focus and fine tune. Focus controls the amount of leakage suppression, and the fine tune adds the dry signal back in as a difference between the original track and the focus output. The two controls are meant to play off each other, so you're going to spend a little time learning what does what and tweaking to get things sounding their best. Now, I'd like to thank my very good friend Cam Fleury for coming out and helping lay down the drums for this demo. Check out what Drumatom does to this raw snare track. Now, what's great about this is you can start processing your snare in ways you normally wouldn't be able to. You can boost your high frequencies without fear of hi-hat bleed all over the place. And here's it in a full mix. This thing just destroys the hi-hat and the snare mic. Where was this 20 years ago when I started out? This is worth the price of admission right here. Now, if you have any concerns about it taking too much out of the signal, remember, it's fully adjustable, so you can add and subtract as much bleed as you see fit. And that's where this becomes a truly outstanding tool. But it's not just for snare, it also works great on kick. And toms as well. It really does an amazing job of killing cymbal wash. You may find some issues with the toms if they aren't played quite as frequently as Drumatom learns from the performance. But when it comes to toms, I got some pretty good results here, but your mileage may vary. But the great thing is, if you still want to use your traditional gating methods, you can. Now you have the added bonus of controlling just how much bleed there is when those gates do open. For me anyway, the most difficult time to control cymbal bleed is during a blast beat. Check this out. Here's a mix using traditional gating techniques and then one with Drumatom added. Things are just more localized and controlled, and I can hit the drums harder with post-processing. Even on a more simple beat, if you listen closely, you're going to hear the hat and the snare mic as the gate opens and closes. And it also works great on complex fills as well. Now, as with anything in the studio, there's just no substitute for good engineering. You still have to abide by basic principles and make sure your kit is well tuned and played and your mics are set correctly, and just generally don't do anything stupid like let your bass player set things up. But when it comes to adding an extra layer of isolation on difficult sources, this program is absolutely revolutionary. You can get your copy of Drumatom at Acusonus.com and keep your eyes peeled for deals on the pair of programs, because you do need the standalone player to generate the DLS file for the player. If you're recording real drums in your studio, this is another one of those must-have software solutions that is truly a death blow to sample replacement. It's absolutely freaking outstanding. I wish someone had invented it when I was starting out, because it would have saved me a whole lot of grief. See you guys.